I was driving through West Texas on my way to Phoenix, trying to make it in one shot, somewhere around 1:30 a.m., after a full day of staring at highway. I realized I was dangerously close to falling asleep at the wheel. I told him I needed a room for the night, cheap, no frills. He didn't say much, just slid a key across the counter with a sticky note attached that read room 214 in shaky handwriting. I pulled off at the next exit and found a small, beat-up motel that looked half abandoned. The neon sign buzzed and sputtered the word vacancy. No other cars in the lot. No vending machines humming. Even the air felt heavy, like everything was muffled. That was enough for me. Inside, the front desk was dimly lit, with an old man behind the counter watching some kind of silent western on a static-filled TV. I must have been asleep for an hour when a loud ring jolted me upright. The place had an eerie stillness to it. Eventually, I laid back down. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. The room felt colder, not physically, but emptier. Like I wasn't just alone, like I'd been left alone. Room 214 was at the far end of the second floor. The key turned stiffly in the lock. Inside, the room was bare but usable. I figured maybe it was a system glitch, or some kind of intercom test. The old-fashioned receiver vibrated slightly with the sound, like it wanted me to pick up. But I didn't move. And then it stopped. But when I turned on the lamp to look around again, there was no phone in the room. Soft. Too soft for anyone trying to wake me. Nothing on the nightstand. No cable jack. Just the lamp and the alarm clock blinking 3:12 a.m. One lamp, a stained armchair, a TV bolted to the dresser, and a queen bed that looked like it had seen better decades. But the weird part, no phone. I remember noticing that immediately because I had planned to call my wife just to let her know I'd stopped for the night. I plugged my phone into the wall, changed clothes, and collapsed onto the bed without bothering to shower. I didn't even bother to change out of my pajama pants. I just threw my duffel over my shoulder and bolted for the front desk. Wet, shallow breathing, like someone had been crying. It was the motel room phone, the phone that shouldn't have been there, sitting on the bedside table, glowing faintly green, buzzing like it had been ringing for a while. I stared at it, too groggy to make sense of it. Then finally, I picked it up. There was no sound, just a faint static, like someone had breathed on the line but didn't know what to say. "You gave me the key." The sticky note said 214. "Hello," I whispered. "Nothing." "That one's got a phone in it, and it keeps ringing." I hung up, heart thumping harder than it should have been. The door wasn't even locked, but inside there was no bed, no lamp, no phone. Just a cracked linoleum floor, torn curtains, and a rotary phone mounted crookedly to the wall. The receiver was off the hook. I sat there for a while trying to convince myself I dreamed it. I even checked my phone for a call log, nothing. That room's been out of order since January. At 4:06 a.m., the phone rang again. This time, I didn't answer. I just stared at it. Then he opened the logbook and ran a bony finger across the last few entries. A few seconds later, there was a knock at my door. "That's the room I gave you." 3 taps. I waited. I didn't breathe. I didn't get up. After maybe a full minute, I finally tiptoed to the PEPHOLE. No one. But as I turned back toward the bed, the phone rang again. I answered it. There was breathing. Then a voice, raspy, distorted, said only one word. "Why?" I slammed the phone down and grabbed my things. I didn't care how tired I was. I just needed out. The old man was still there, still watching the same flickering TV. I need a different room, I told him. He didn't look away from the screen. What room did I give you? 214. He finally turned toward me slow, like turning his head took effort. I just stared at him. He looked down at the counter, confused, like he didn't remember even seeing me before. I marked you down for 213, he muttered. I reached into my pocket to show him the key, but it was gone. He sighed. You want another room or not? I ended up sleeping in my car, parked across the street under a gas station light that kept flickering. I didn't care. I didn't sleep. In the morning, I went back to the motel out of some strange sense of closure. Room 214 was empty. I stepped inside just long enough to hang it back up. As I did, the phone rang one last time. I didn't answer. I ran. And I don't think I'll ever stop wondering who was asking why.
I was 2 days into a cross-country drive from Georgia to California, one of those desperate, post-divorce road trips where you're just trying to outrun yourself. It was nearing midnight when I pulled off a nearly empty stretch of highway in West Texas. The GPS had glitched out earlier, and my phone had no bars, just stared at me as I approached middle-aged, hollow-eyed, like he hadn't blinked in hours. I said I needed a room for the night. He nodded, turned around, and grabbed a key off a pegboard. At first, I thought it might be a receipt, but when I unfolded it, the words, written in all caps in shaky pen, were simple. I spotted a dusty neon sign flickering the word lodging and figured it was better than falling asleep behind the wheel. The motel looked like it had been swallowed by the dessert decades ago and just recently coughed back up. Sand covered the parking lot. One dim porch light buzzed near the entrance. I walked inside, and the air smelled like old tobacco and dry rot. The clerk behind the counter didn't say a word. It was one of those old brass keys with a green plastic tag that read Room 9. I pocketed the key, note and all, and headed to Room 9. But it was quiet, and the sheet smelled clean enough. I left my bag near the door, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed onto the mattress. I didn't even bother unpacking. As he slid it across the counter, he also pushed forward a folded yellow post-it note. The clerk just kept staring. I asked him what it meant. Maybe it was another guest, confused about their room. Maybe a kid playing a prank. But it was so quiet outside. No footsteps. No voices. Whatever you do, don't open the door if she knocks. I looked up, expecting some kind of smirk, a joke maybe. He didn't answer. I was too tired to argue. The place was exactly what you'd expect: stale carpet, faded wallpaper, a TV from the 90s. I remembered the note and clung to it like it was sacred. I must have dozed off pretty quick, because when the knock came, it scared me awake. Not frantic. Just gentle, measured. Just for a second. I won't come in. I promise, like someone was being polite. Knock, knock. I froze. Not loud knocks. It was 2:12 a.m., according to the blinking red clock on the nightstand. I sat up and remembered the note instantly. My chest tightened. Another knock. Then silence. Right as I reached my car, something made me turn back. I didn't say a word. Didn't move. Just sat there, holding my breath. A minute passed. Then came a voice. I went straight to the front desk to return the key and asked the clerk what the hell had happened. I know you're awake, a woman's voice. Calm. Almost sweet. My blood ran cold. She knocked again twice. Just like before, please. I need help. It's cold out here. I wanted to say something. Maybe yell at her to go away. But I couldn't. It was like my body was locked up. Double quotes, please. Another knock. I slowly stood and crept to the peephole. Every instinct I had was screaming, don't look, but I had to. I looked. No one. The hallway outside was completely empty. Then, from the other side of the door, less than a foot from my face, I heard her say, "That's not very polite." I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my own feet. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Eventually, morning light bled in through the blinds, and I mustered the nerve to open the door. No sign of anyone. But the front office was empty. Dust on the counter. Chair pushed back. No sign of the man from the night before. I left the key on the desk and walked out. The yellow note was on my windshield, fluttering slightly in the breeze. Same shaky handwriting. Next time, don't look.
I was traveling from Austin to New Mexico, trying to put some space between me and a relationship that ended badly. I didn't want to stay in another overpriced hotel off the highway, so I took a detour and found this no-name roadside motel about an hour outside Midland. It had that dessert decay kind of charm, peeling turquoise paint, flickering sign, only 3 cars in the lot. It looked cheap, quiet, and most importantly, forgettable. Just what I needed. The woman at the front desk was pleasant but distant. She barely looked at me as she handed me the key and said, "Room 5. Heater works, just gotta give it a minute." Then she smiled, paused, and added, "Don't use the mirror. Just cover it with a towel if it bothers you." I laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a weird joke, but she didn't laugh back. Room 5 wasn't terrible, honestly. It smelled faintly of bleach and dessert dust. But the sheets were clean and the lock worked. I returned, turned off the bathroom light, and shined the beam along the edge of the mirror, the bathroom. Though that's where things got weird. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it a cold draft, just on my face, like standing near an open freezer. But there were no windows, no vents, nothing that should have made it that cold. Square, with a metal frame bolted to the wall. When I leaned in to check my makeup, I felt it again, that breath of cold, like someone exhaled against my cheek. I touched the mirror and felt airflow. I checked the sink, the shower, all fine. Then I noticed the mirror. It was oddly large for such a small bathroom. I just stood there for a second, heart pounding in my ears. Then I ran out of the bathroom, slammed the door shut, and shoved the dresser in front of it. I leaned in closer. The mirror felt off, almost hollow. I wasn't staying there, that was for sure. But when I opened the front door to leave, there was no one at the front desk. I called out, but no answer. I thought about grabbing my bag and just driving off. But something in me, some mix of fear and anger, wanted to know. I don't know why. But I knocked on it. It echoed faintly. Room 5 was at the end of a row, but behind it there was a narrow hallway-style passage that led to a small storage shed, maybe part of the old maintenance wing. The mirror would have backed up to that space. I went back into the room and grabbed my phone flashlight. And just beneath that, a hole. A perfect, round hole. No bigger than a pencil eraser. That's when I saw it. An ashtray full of half-smoked cigarettes. And on the opposite wall, mounted in plain sight, was the back of my bathroom mirror. I got a chair, climbed up, and looked closer. It wasn't just a crack or an imperfection. In the top left corner, just behind the frame, the light caught something metallic like a screw or a bracket. My stomach dropped. It was a peephole. And on the other side of that peephole I saw an eye. I didn't expect much, but they actually followed up with me a few days later. I drove for nearly an hour before I stopped at a brightly lit gas station, shaking so badly I could barely hold the steering wheel. Not blinking. Not moving. Just watching. I gasped and nearly fell off the chair. The woman I spoke to at the desk, didn't he work there? They didn't he even employ any women? I didn't scream. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to do. I went outside and walked around the building. The door to the shed was cracked open. I peeked inside. There was a folding chair, a space heater, and beneath it, a small peephole. I didn't see anyone, but the chair was warm when I touched it, still radiating heat. Someone had been sitting there, watching me. I bolted, got in my car and peeled out of that parking lot like the ground was on fire. When I finally calmed down enough to think straight, I called the local sheriff's office and reported what I saw. They said room 5 had been closed for over a year, claimed it was under maintenance. No one was supposed to be staying there. But the worst part, they checked the storage room behind the bathroom. The mirror had been removed, and the chair, still warm,